Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I'm Daniel.
And I'm wondering if you're going to have to edit that out of the actual podcast.
Well, so every time I say I'm going to edit something out, I never do. I just leave it in. Yeah, I'm too. And I'm now suddenly I'm like,
wait, maybe I should edit that.
Well, no, because now I'm wondering. I did hit record on the phone, right?
Hopefully.
Anyway,
guess we'll find out.
Welcome to our professionally produced podcast, the Jedi Enclave Presents. Now this is podcasting podcast.
And if you think it's so easy, then you should.
Yeah, you go do a fucking podcast like everyone else in the world. Anyway, this is your weekly podcast, our weekly podcast about Star Wars and other nerdy things that we like. We like to do Star Wars news and other things.
Holy shit, there's actual Star Wars happening right now.
Right, we're gonna do a quick drive-by of the Star Wars news because there are a couple of things. One of them that was like, what the fuck? And the other thing was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's kind of nice.
Okay.
One of them is that Jeremy Allen White, the man that stars in The Bear, the main character and stars in The Bear, has been cast as Rhoda the Hutt. In
Mando and Grogu?
Yeah, but Dave Filoni's Mandalorian and Grogu. This comes from Variety, by the way.
Okay.
So it was, it's kind of a reliable,
somewhat reputable.
Yeah. We had there's a Facebook page called Leslie Headland Core that follows us. Mm-hmm. They're a lot of fun, but I don't think they realized. They mentioned how like Variety owns tabloids. Yeah, it's like everybody owns tabloids.
Yeah,
and like all major media companies play both sides of the shit quality journalism, good quality journalism, and then you have Fox, which is just all shit quality journalism.
Yeah.
So you have to know. Like if it comes from one source, like Variety generally has a standard. Like if they report on something like this, it's because they've spoken to someone who works at Lucasfilm, and they're not going to say who it is, obviously, for the same reason they didn't say who Deep Throat was, which by the way, never understood why that was the name he chose for himself. Anyway, so yeah, it's coming from a fairly reputable source.
I have no idea who the character is, but I'm sure the actor will do a good job with it.
Have you never seen Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the movie?
I don't think so.
Really? Okay, well, Rhoda the Hutt is the baby Hutt, Jabba the Hutt's son.
Oh, okay.
That they carry around and he shits himself the whole movie. And because it's a kid's movie, there's lots of poop and farting humor in it.
Okay, so presumably played for fewer laughs here.
Yeah, I assume a little more grown up, maybe even. But
might still shit his pants once, you know, as a joke for the people who know the reference.
So you and I are big fans of The Bear.
Mm-hmm.
He's also on Shameless. Also a really good show. I'm trying to imagine Jeremy Allen White as a Hutt, and I just can't do it. It just like all I hear in my head is him screaming, like,
"I need 10 beefs, 50 chickens, 30 burgers, fire it all now!"
It's everything in that show. And it's like, it really triggers my anxiety because from start to finish, people are yelling at each other the whole time. They're so mad at each other. So yeah, there's that. And then James Mangold says that he and Bo Williamson are close to finishing their first draft of Dawn of the Jedi, which is good news, but also that means they're very early in that process. So.
Yeah.
Oh, which by the way, we're doing things kind of out of order, I suppose. You should join us on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, and Discord, and Blue Sky, a place that we are now. And today we're obviously talking about Skeleton Crew and Dune Prophecy. If we have time to get to it, we might.
We just might.
There wasn't there's only one episode this week, and it was kind of shorter. The Skeleton Crew episode was kind of short, so we probably have enough time.
It still had some events.
Yeah. So that's what's happening in the world of Star Wars news, and I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, I started playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle a couple of days ago, and it's a lot of fun because I'm going to give you two elements. So one element, you can pick up nearly anything as a weapon. As a melee weapon.
Yeah.
So like you walk in through a room and you see a bat, you can pick that up. You walk through the room You see a broom, you can pick that up. You're walking through the room. There's a mandolin. You can pick that up and use it as a weapon. You're walking through the room. There's a fly swatter. Literally happened in the first stream. You can pick it up and use it as a weapon.
And presumably you can punch Nazis in the face with all these.
That's the other second element, is that you're fighting fascists. And so these two things, when married together in a beautiful union of fascism, I think Indiana Jones might have been the first anti-fascist, actually.
He is literally fighting Nazis.
Yeah. How just eternally satisfying is it to beat a fascist to death with a mandolin?
Pretty satisfying.
Very. It's very, very satisfying. So I played that on Monday. It was a Monday and Tuesday night. It's a lot of fun. The training mission is just the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Literally, Alfred Molina's character is there. There's the whole ball that falls out of the thing, and you have the sandbag, and you have to you pour the sand out and drop it back on everything. That's like the training level, and it's like shot for shot from the film. And music composed by a friend of the show, Gordy Hobb. And
Gordy.
Yeah, let me tell you, it's really good because he drops in John Williams themes all over the place because it's Indiana Jones. And
he has a lot of experience being not quite John Williams.
What a backhanded, you know what? He'd probably actually take that as a compliment.
It was meant as a compliment. Yeah. I mean,
you're almost John Williams, just not quite.
The thing is, John Williams is sort of imitatable, but like very, 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 very few people throughout history have been able to reach his level of quality.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have tried, and it's like the John Williams from Temu kind of thing, like where like when people try to do the John Williams thing, they're like, they're trying to do John Williams. Mm-hmm. There are moments in like Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order that Gordy also wrote. That could easily be actual John Williams, and the same for this. It's funny. I think he told me that his first professional game gig was an Indiana Jones movie. Or an Indiana Jones game. So like it's kind of like come full circle, which is cool. But it's the music is really great. It's very like it fits in very well. And the whole thing, like you have a pistol. I've used it once, I think, because there are mandolins.
Yeah.
And guitars and fly swatters. Yeah. The fly swatter, by the way, you can't kill a man with it.
I was gonna say it seems like a very ineffective weapon.
It's you poke him in the gut and distract him. And when they're like, what the fuck, is that a fly swatter? Then you hit him with your fist. That's what it's for.
Makes sense.
So anyways, so far it's the whole thing is exploration and puzzles.
And punching Nazis.
Yes. But like that happens, but the point of it is for exploration.
That's your reward for exploring.
For doing the puzzles, right. Yeah. And let me tell you, I love solving puzzles. I love exploring, and I love punching Nazis. So
this is basically the perfect game.
I will play that game until I die, probably. So yeah, if you haven't played The Great Circle, I'd recommend it. It's not. There are some mechanical issues in it. It's a Bethesda game.
Oh yeah.
And so like the enemy AI is actually kind of silly, but like it looks so good, and the puzzles are actually a lot of fun. So go check it out. It's on Game Pass, which is why, because I wasn't going to pay for it, but now that I know what it was, I would have actually. Yeah. Shall we talk Star Wars Skeleton Crew episode 3?
I think we shall.
I can't remember what this episode is called, and I should have put it in my notes.
Neither can I, but I'm sure Wikipedia has it.
I want to make sure. We are, by the way, reading some comments at the end of the show.
If there were any.
There were. Whenever I ask someone's opinion, people take that very seriously. Yeah. And that's great because we are curious about kind of how this is being received by the fandom at large. Mm-hmm. So far, what I can tell is that it's being received very well. And it's a relief because
there were some very, very rude things said about the child actors in the run up to release, but how they're all DEI.
Oh yeah, and that shit like that's kind of become noise a little bit. That I don't even really hear that shit anymore. It's just kind of like background noise because they say it so often. And the show, the show wasn't directed by a lesbian.
That's true.
So it's not getting the same hate as Acolyte did, right? Because that's what it was. I mean, that's literally Leslie Headland is a woman and she's a lesbian. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge problem. And there were, there's a black woman that starred in it. And that's also a big problem.
Huge problem for the very worst people in the world.
Yeah. There seems to be a little less of that. It's hard to hate on these kids because they're so charming. They're so good. And I smile the entire fucking time. And we're going to talk about this as we go along in the story. I guess this is our spoiler free part of the show. Every scene Neil is in, even when he doesn't have dialogue, you should watch him. Because he does the funniest shit in the world, and it just happens in the background. And if you're not looking for it, you might miss it.
Like they're talking about plot relevant stuff in the foreground, in the background, Neil's like rolling around on a table or something.
Or in one of the scenes trying to levitate a stick. Like he's holding up a stick and he drops it and he tries to catch it with the force and it just drops. And then he just is like, or the one scene where he picks up a gun and is like looking at it.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a child with a gun. Like, and he's just like, oh, that's the barrel. And Jude Law is like looking at him like, is that kid going to shoot himself? I hope not. So anyway, episode 3, we're going to get into spoilers. I don't think that there are actually some...
There's some decent stuff in here.
Yeah, there are some lore things that are getting pretty interesting with this and that show up in the form of dialogue where you're like, wait, what the fuck's happening? Because that does not make sense. Mm-hmm. So if you don't want that shit spoiled for you, go and watch it, come back and let us know what you thought. But the episode opens, everyone's like hanging out sorry, my leg I'll cut this out of the...
Oh, yeah.
But I won't.
You won't.
It'll be in there.
We know you won't.
Which, by the way, I guess my partner, John, had the Neil... I was leaning over to scratch my leg and I saw my Black Series toys up here. Mm-hmm. Had the Neil Black Series toy in a shopping cart, an online shopping cart, for Christmas, and then realized that it's not coming out until June, and was really pissed off about it. So anyway, everyone's hanging out at Undersecretary Karen's house.
Well, specifically, all the parents have formed a little support group back on AT-AT.
Well, I don't think it's a support group. I think it's our children are missing what the fuck group, right?
Yeah.
And I think actually what's really interesting is that the episode opens with like some cityscape images, and it follows the one like Big Brother surveillance droid on his like journey to the house, but they're all like hanging out, and fucking, of course, Neil's parents are so calm and nice. And one of them brings Wim's dad some tea, and I was like, don't worry about it. They're just fucking kids.
It's a nice touch.
They probably got lost.
Wim's dad is just kind of staring into space.
Well, he knows.
Isn't really hearing anything.
Well, it's because he knows. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So he told everyone what happened, and what they heard was, oh, our kids ran away. And he's like, no, what I said was they got onto a fucking spaceship and left the planet. And they're like, oh, they'll be back. They're like, they'll find them out in the woods. And he's like, no, they left the fucking planet. Idiots. Yeah. So like, he has already resigned. He's like, no, my kids are in deep space somewhere.
They're fucking gone.
Yeah. And so there's an interesting dialogue from KB's parents about how they haven't like gotten a ping from her life monitor.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to wonder what the fuck happened to KB. Now, thinking about it in retrospect, they probably didn't just let her get cybernetics just for the fun of it.
Probably not.
Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe she was in an accident or something.
As much as I wish that they never went into this or explained it, that she was just a 12-year-old cyborg, it kind of makes sense that she would have some sort of health
Mom,
issue.
can I get a Lobot? Well, no, you're only fucking 12. You never let me do anything.
Fine.
Yeah, fine. You're not getting a fucking tattoo though.
I mean, it's cheaper than a pony.
Okay, so the security droid shows up. He's like, I've got fucking great news. The kids have left the planet. And they're like, that's not
great news.
That's not great news. And he's like, I may have misunderstood the good news, bad news thing. I'm so sorry. Well, anyway, your kids we've confirmed that the administrator, whoever the fuck that is, the administrator has confirmed your kids have passed the Great Barrier. They are off in space in a ship,
which, by the way, is a felony. Yeah. And if they ever return here, they will be
probably going to do bad things to them. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go now. Bye.
And everyone's like, wait, what the fuck?
Everyone just, it's like that. Did you ever see the movie School of Rock?
Yeah.
First of all, great movie. Everyone should watch. Jack Black is a national fucking treasure. And like at the end, all the kids skip class to go to the rock concert competition that's happening at like 11 in the morning or something. Yeah. And the principal is played, the really uptight principal is played by Joan Malkovich. And all the uptight helicopter parents are all in her office trying to figure out where all their kids are, and she walks in and she's like, they've skipped school to go to a rock concert. And then just the whole room just like explodes into, what the fuck are you talking about? It's just like that. But yeah, Wim's dad is like, no, I saw this whole fucking thing go down, so I'm not at all surprised about this. What does he do? Nothing, because apparently no one's allowed to leave, right? Like they're just banned from leaving or whatever. There's a lot of
you can never escape suburbia,
right? that's the lesson of this show. So we go to Port Borgo, which is the Pirates of the Caribbean
place,
right. Which, by the way, did you notice that Michael Giacchino's son Mick like straight up plagiarized Pirates of the Caribbean for one of the scenes?
Just a little bit.
No, it was pretty blatant. There's that tune. So first of all, funny little thing to know about Hans Zimmer, for all of you Hans Zimmer fans out there. He doesn't write most of the music he's credited for writing. The people who work for him write it, and he gets the credit for it. A really good example of this is that if you ask most people, hey, who wrote the music for Pirates of the Caribbean? They'll say, oh, Hans Zimmer. But actually a guy named Klaus Badelt wrote it, but Hans Zimmer got automatic co-writing credit for it because he was one of his slaves or something. Yeah. But one of the keys that Badelt wrote for Pirates of the Caribbean, that bum 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 ba bum 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 ba da da dum, which is, by the way, Pirates of the Caribbean was having a moment when I was in high school, and we played so much music of that in band, so I know that thing very well. It's that exact same theme. It was in the scene where Jude Law goes to where all the droids are. Just keep an ear out for it. When you hear it, you'll be like, oh, what the fuck? All right, so Jude Law is just
sneaking out through the prison.
Jude Law has just outed himself as a Jedi.
Yes.
And they're getting out. And I like how immediately Fern is immediately skeptical of him. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, fuck that. Not really. You're not really a Jedi. Fuck that.
No fucking way.
And they're trying to figure out, like, they've gotten out of the cell. Now what?
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, oh, watch this. And he does like a thing. He does the Obi-Wan thing where he like distracts the guards.
So like they're sneaking across this hallway, and there's guards, electrocuting the prisoners in there. And, and KB's
like, being dicks.
Yeah. KB's like, I can't go. The guards will fucking see me. And that's when Jude Law does the Obi-Wan like, point and loud noise.
Wim, by the way, is like, oh, it's so fucking cool. Yeah. He calls Jedi Jedis, which I think is just adorable. So they're like, Fern's like, wait a second. If you could just grab the key with the Force,
why couldn't you just fucking leave anytime you want?
Why are you still here? And he's like, well, think about this, dipshit. I don't have a ship, and you do. And so you see how now that you're here, I can leave. And she's like, okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Wim makes a comment while they're sneaking out about, and I'm pretty sure it's in defense of Jude Law, about how the Jedi are the protectors of peace and justice in the galaxy. And it occurred to me that Ad-Atten is something really weird and sinister is happening there. And just based on this one thing and a couple of other lines throughout.
Yeah.
And it sounds like an innocent line, right?
But there's so much other evidence going with it. Like they use Old Republic credits for some reason when the Old Republic fell,
Yeah. Also consider that this is after Return of the Jedi. For the last 30 years, Palpatine made it his life's mission to erase the Jedi's legacy from the galaxy. And the stuff he couldn't erase, he wanted to make sure that people knew that they were the traitors in the war and that they tried to topple the government and take over, right? Mm-hmm. So the fact that first of all, the fact that there are kids this age who know what a Jedi is, but also, because think about this, everyone in the galaxy who isn't on Ad-Atten, the real old guys who are around for the Clone Wars, they're like, well, shit. And then the Jedi tried to coup the government and then they got all killed and shit. And then what's their next, the next news they hear of a Jedi is that he's blown up a space station and killed millions of people.
He's a war criminal.
And that he went into the Emperor's throne room with just him and Vader, and he was the only one that came out. Like,
what the fuck?
The people who do know a Jedi are like, whoa, we're not ever talking to a Jedi. That's some bad news. Yeah. And Wim's over here like, oh, the Jedi are the coolest fucking thing in the universe. And so like, there is clearly some kind of restriction on information.
Yeah, they've been on information blackout for a long time.
It is, I suspect that not only are they unaware of the Galactic Civil War, I'm pretty sure they're unaware of the Clone Wars too. I don't think that they know either of those things happened, which is insane when you think about, because it's interesting enough to have kids, like it could be a group of kids from any regular planet who are all of a sudden out in the world without their parents and without, any experience with being adults or anything. Like, that is scary enough.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're from a planet where it's not only that, but they are unaware of the general current events of the last 40 years is insane. That's crazy to me. Yeah. What the fuck are they doing on Ad-Atten? So, KB senses a droid because she has a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Fern uses this.
Yeah, there's a funny little sequence where Jude Law is like, "Hey, stop!" And some pirates go right across the hallway, and Wimp's like, "Oh, he sensed that with his Jedi powers."
Yeah, he's the Force.
And then they go, and KB's like, "Stop!" And this droid walks by, and Fern's like, "Oh, I guess KB's a Jedi too, dipshit."
And then looks at Jude Law, and I like how he's got his gun. And he's like, "I could shoot her right now."
Yeah.
And who would know? Right? Like, no one would ever know. So they sneak through and they get into the main thoroughfare, which Jude Law's objective here is cool as the rule, right? And
low profile. Let's just get to the ship and get out of here.
Because he gives Fern a choice. He's like, we go this way. There are like, thousands of biologicals, like life forms.
Yeah, actually, he mentions, hey, this way is crowded. This way isn't. Let's go the crowded way. And Fern's like, why don't we go the other way?
He asks her, he's like, which way do we go?
Does he?
Yes. And she goes, let's go. And he's like, well, that's stupid because actually we can blend in. And she's like, oh, okay. At least I'm pretty sure that's how it goes now.
I'm pretty sure he just straight up says we're going the crowded way, but I don't know.
So they go through the thoroughfare, and they ferry back to the ship. And which, by the way, I love how the ship has like. Did you ever watch Peanuts or like Charlie Brown?
Yeah.
Linus the dirty kid has that like cloud of dirt around him.
I think that's Pig Pie or thing.
Is it not Linus or Pig?
Linus. Now, Schroeder's the pianist. Linus is
Alexa,
Lucy's little brother.
Who's the Peanuts character who's always dirty?
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, the dirty kid in Peanuts comic strips is Pigpen.
Oh, Pigpen. All right, there you go. Nice. So anyway, I said all of that because that's what their ship is.
Yeah,
it's got like this like dirt cloud surrounding it.
Well, in fairness, it's probably all the residual dirt that it was buried under on Ad-Atten.
Yeah. So they file on to the ship and they're getting ready to go. And then the kids are like, wait, we have to go get our droid. And Jude Law's like, you could have said that earlier.
Why didn't you mention that while we were back there?
And they all band together. Even Wim, who, by the way, goes out of his way to disagree with Fern every time she makes a point.
No, actually, we need our droid back. And Jude Law is like, we don't have time for this.
Yeah.
And Fern is like, yeah, don't the Jedi leave no man behind?
Yeah.
And Jude Law is like, first of all, it's a droid, not a man.
Yeah. Second of all,
a little bit racist, Jude Law.
Yeah, and he makes another comment later on about how like if you need something done, don't ever trust a droid, or like don't ever count on a droid.
He's got some Mando distrust of droids going on here.
Yeah, I like how he's like, in second of all, we don't say that. That's not a thing that Jedi say. And Wim is still like, oh, he knows about the things Jedi say. Yeah, so he's like, okay, I'll go get the fucking droid. You guys sit here,
stay here,
do not touch anything. For the love of God, do not leave me
and
here.
To their credit, the kids do sit there and not touch anything.
When they have this little conversation, by the way, is when Neil tries to float the stick with the Force and fails. So Jude gets back into the station.
I like how we're just disregarding his character's actual name.
Well, they call him like 3 different things.
It's
because it's Silva, which, by the way, this is where we confirm that the pirate at the beginning is Jude Law, because there's a guy screaming through the space station. He's like, Silva fucking escaped with 3 kids, and there's an Amber Alert, I think. And
Silva, so there's Jin.
Jim. His name's Jim.
James. I guess. And then there's another one from a character that we haven't met yet.
Crimson Jack, which is probably the most pirate one, right?
So Jude Law gets around, is what we're saying.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'll ask that question when we get there.
Okay.
So he gets to where they keep all the droids. It's like a droid room, and he starts just waking up different droids. He's like, "Are you SM-33? Are you SM-33?" One of them was a CZ droid, which is based on the concept art of C-3PO, Ralph McQuarrie's art, and you can see various CZ heads throughout Star Wars in different scenes.
Eventually, he finds...
Hold on. There's a droid who starts screaming, "The prince is in danger," which I'm not sure if is that like a Danger Will Robinson thing, or
I really don't know.
Yeah, they find an old separatist battle droid.
Yeah,
who when he turns them on, he goes
like, "Did we win?
Did we win?" and just falls apart. And then he finds another droid, and he wakes him up, and like it's we know it's SM-33.
But like, are you SM-33? And SM-33 is like, who the fuck's that?
Yeah. Who the fuck are you? And then the little rat crawls out, which like Neil, when they were talking about this, Neil's like,
and he has a rat in his head.
If you get the droid, you best get that fucking rat too.
Yeah.
And so he sees the rat, and he's like, all right.
Okay. Probably. So he like dumps SM-33 onto like a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
Carting him out. And
just an earth wheelbarrow. Yeah.
And this pirate's like, "Hey, Captain!"
Walks in, of the Ishi-Tib species, voiced by Alfred Molina.
Oh.
By the way. Had no idea. Someone pointed it out on Facebook today. Blew my mind. Because I didn't like Alfred Molina has a very distinctive voice, and I didn't like immediately recognize him. Yeah. Kind of like how we watched the Incredible or the Invincible trailer a couple days ago, and like Mark Hamill just says something, and you're like, "Oh, that's Mark Hamill," right? I had no idea, which I thought was pretty cool. So he's real friendly at first. Yeah, he's like, "You're such a fucking good captain. You're such a cool guy."
The guy we kicked you out for is just a giant dipshit.
Yeah. Why don't you sit down and have some tea, and we'll figure. And he's like, "I can't. I got to go. I
got places to go.
About to be rich.
Yeah,
probably." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Because of those fucking kids with all their shiny money." And he's like, "Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Anyway, bye." And he's like, "Well, or I could tell everyone that you're in here." And that could fuck your plans up really fast, couldn't it? And then it just like cuts to black, right? Yeah. Well, it cuts to the conversation the kids are having on the bridge of the ship, where they're like, "Okay, he said not to jump out of here without him, so that's what we should do." Because Fern's like, he's obviously a con man, and Wim's like, "Fern, you dumb fuck. He used the Force. He floated a fucking key."
Fern's like, you could float it millions of ways. You could use repulsors. You could use magnets. You could use a string.
A literal fucking string.
Yeah. Just like a really, really thin string.
Yeah. And I like how Wim's like, "Oh shit. I'm not going to concede the point, but I'm not going to argue this any further."
Wim's like, "Look, me and Neil say we shouldn't leave without him." And Fern is like, "Yeah, well, me and KB say we fucking should, and I'm the captain, so I get an extra vote, so fuck you."
Yeah. And while this is happening...
I love this whole discussion, because it's exactly what kids that age would do.
Yeah, yes.
Like when they're just sitting around with nothing to do, they just start arguing.
In the background, while they're having this conversation through the cockpit window, you see a couple of ships crashing into each other. Like coming toward the thing. and it's Jude Law and the droid, and he's like hijacked one of those ferry boats, and is being chased. Like now, Brutus knows. Brutus is the wolf guy, by the way. Everyone's chasing him, and they're gonna put a fucking bounty on him or whatever. And he's able to dock. He pulls SM-33 in and shit. And he's like,
"Get us the fuck out of here!
We have to go." And so they fire up the ship, and he kicks fucking Neil out of the seat, and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna fucking drive." And they do the Force Awakens thing where he tries to pull away, but the fuel line's still attached, and he's like, "Oh motherfucker, what are we gonna do about this?"
It's a really well built fuel line.
So they end up like trying to pull it out, but it doesn't pull out. So he's like, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to hyperspace, and just hits the switch.
They're like, isn't that really, really dangerous?
Yeah,
and Jude Law's like, not for us, it isn't.
By the way, they jump to hyperspace. This fuel line recoils back to the space station and kills probably like 20 people.
Yeah.
Like
at least.
Yeah. So
and Brutus is like, fucking bring me his head and those rascally kids too.
Yeah. I need to catch up with my notes. Oh yeah, there's a cool shot of Brutus standing there as the wreckage falls around him, and he's too much of a badass to move, so he just stands there and shit. It's hard for me to take Brutus seriously because he literally has like 18 guns on his bandolier. Have you noticed how many like he literally has like 5 pistols?
Yeah, he's compensated.
And it's like, you only have 2 arms, motherfucker. You do not need 5 pistols.
And it's not like, the Wild West where you only had 6 shots and they're a pain in the ass to reload.
And they just toss it aside.
Just toss it, grab another one. They're fucking blasters, dude.
So Jude Law has a plan. He's like, I have this friend, really good friend, tremendous friend, best person ever.
Best friend that's ever had a friend.
Yeah. And she's like,
she knows everything about stars and maps and
astrogation and all that.
She knows where the fuck your planet is.
So we're going to go talk to her, and we'll get everything sorted out. And then you guys can go home, and everything will be great.
Maybe toss a
little bit of money.
Yeah, a little money your old buddy Jude Law's way.
And there's this. Okay, so first of all, Jude Law takes a little self-guided tour through the ship, and he like finds one of the skeletons. It's like pinned to the on a sword, and he takes the sword out, and he's like, "That's a nice fucking sword,
that's a nice little knife."
And like puts it in his belt, and then like SM-33 like lurks around the corner. He's like, "Who the fuck are you, by the way?" And they have it. SM-33 is pretty much giving him the "Hey, I'm fucking watching you" thing, right? And he goes,
in the course of this, he pokes Jude Law in the chest so hard. Jude Law's like,
"Ow, motherfucker!"
Actually, really fucking like he pulls his shirt back to look, see if it's bruised.
Yeah. In their conversation, he's like, "Look, are these kids really from Manhattan?" And SM-33 is like, "I don't fucking know, but I'll tell you one thing: they're from somewhere." And Jude Law is like, "That could be said about literally anyone."
Yes.
And then, but SM-33 like backs away and goes from around the corner.
He's like, "I won't say it again."
Yeah. And then he comes back and he's like, fucking this fucking dude. Yeah, he's really cool. Jude Law is like, this is too much.
Who the fuck programmed this droid?
The kids get fed.
Yes. Like Jude Law like makes dinner.
He makes weird blue, I don't know, whatever the fuck.
He's just fucking scarfing it down.
Yeah. I love how when he's eating out of his bowl and all the kids are staring at him because none of them have eaten since they've left, and like Neil's stomach audibly growls, and then he's like, "Guys, there's a whole fucking pot of this."
Yeah,
and like Wim immediately jumps up and has to be the first one and everything. And I think that's where he goes off to talk to while he's away, the kids are trying to figure out his motives. Because they're like, look, like he thinks there's a treasure on Manhattan.
Yeah.
And then that evolves into,
well, maybe it's the great work.
What if there is a treasure?
Yeah.
And what's the great work? And they're like, so one of them,
because like Neil's like, yeah, my parents an analyst. Like, what do they analyze?
Yeah. Or what do they administrate? Or whatever the fuck.
What the fuck are they doing?
And I like how Wim's like, I don't know, boring shit, boring adult shit.
Yeah.
And then looks down at his little pile of credits and is like, or treasure?
Money?
Maybe it is. Oh, fuck. Maybe it is. And Jude Law comes walking up, and one of the many funny moments of this fucking episode, Wim flips his bowl over to cover his credits, and Neil, who doesn't have any credits in front of him, still flips his fucking bowl over because Wim did. Yeah. And they're all just kind of grinning at Jude Law, and like they're like, "Hi, we don't have credits."
Neil is the fucking best.
Yeah, he really is. So Jude
Law is like, all right, look, we're gonna get there in like 8 hours, so you kids should all get some sleep. And Fern's like, I'm not tired.
Yeah, the tale is old as time. It is your bedtime. No, I'm not sleepy.
Smash cut to Fern passed out,
just unconscious as fuck, drooling all over the fucking place. And Jude Law is like, finally, these fucking kids aren't making noise.
They're so fucking loud.
And he kind of like walks around and
sees Fern's asleep, Wim's asleep, Neil's asleep and snoring through his little trunk,
making little trumpet sounds, and then turns around
and KB is just fucking looking at him. Got her visor down, and he's like, "You don't sleep very much.
You're so fucking creepy, kid." And she's like, "Yes."
And also, there is no fucking way you're actually a Jedi. Yeah. Like, I calculated the odds, and I have a computer in my head, so I actually know numbers.
I ran the over/under on this, and you're not a Jedi. And he's like, "Well, maybe not everything can be
not everything
calculated.
Is numbers. Yeah, sometimes you gotta trust your gut. And besides, he turns the lights out with the Force.
Yeah."
Could not a Jedi do that?
Right. Yeah, and it hasn't occurred to her that there's a third option.
Yeah.
Where he's not a Jedi, but just can use the Force.
Yeah.
Which maybe they don't think that's possible. Maybe they think that only Jedi are the ones that use the Force.
Which, given how fucked up Ad-Aton is, I could believe that that's also engraved in their belief system.
He does say, the exact thing he says is, not everything in the galaxy can be calculated. And the way he says it, the delivery is more poignant, I think, than the character meant it to be, where maybe he's referring to something in particular, maybe some shit that he's, either dealing or had to deal with.
Maybe.
All right. So they land on a moon, and the landing ramp goes down. Wim is riding the cargo claw.
Like a
horse.
Whee!
Yeah. And Jude tells him to stop fucking doing that.
Fucking idiot, knock it off.
And he promptly ignores him and rides that fucking cargo claw until he realizes they might leave without him if he keeps doing it. So KB is like, shit, it's fucking cold on this moon. And he's like, well, I don't put a fucking jacket on. Yeah. We're going to walk a little bit to where we're going.
And Fern's like, why didn't we just park closer? Yeah. And KB's like, because he wanted to fucking hide the ship.
Yeah. There's this really good shot of them marching single file with this huge planet in the background. And I swear to God,
it's very E.T.
It reminds me of Elliot on the bike in E.T. Yeah. And some of the music in this show is really goofy. So like that last scene we were talking about, where he and KB talk, is scored just with solo alto flute, which is like kind of goofy.
On the moon,
yes,
there's a theremin.
Yeah, the establishing shot of the moon and them landing, there's a big like fucking Rick and Morty theremin sounding kind of a thing. So they get up to the compound to where they're going.
He's like, this is the best friend I've ever had. She knows everything. She's been
we go way back.
Me.
Yeah.
I just don't really trust her.
Yeah, and also she's probably a bad person.
Also, she might not trust me. Yeah. So we got some stuff to work in, but she's a friend. She'll help us.
It's now just occurring to me, we might not be friends.
Meanwhile,
this might just be a person I know.
Inside the compound, we see someone like flipping through things,
dials and shit.
Oh, hey, that's Crimson Jack. Let me fucking call the cops.
Call the fuzz.
Yeah, and she calls the cops, and the cops are like, "Hey, what's up?" She's like, "Yeah, I got Crimson Jack here," and the cops are like, "Okay, fucking stall him. We'll be there right away.
We'll bring the handcuffs. We'll fucking arrest him." By the way, they my partner John, when he watched this today, was convinced that they were going to see Maz Kanata. And that would have been kind of cool.
Not the worst guess.
Yeah. But the character that they introduce here is actually, I really enjoy. So they get to the building, and one of those fucking gatekeeper droids, like in Return of the Jedi from Jabba's palace,
pops out and says, "Hey, who the fuck are you?"
Well, she knows who he is.
Yeah.
She's like, Crimson Jack, you motherfucker, and your biological children,
one of whom is an elephant.
Yeah, explain, please. And he's like, no time. We need your help.
Yeah.
I know that things ended badly between us, but I'm
hoping we can put that behind us.
Yeah, and I brought a bunch of children and a little saucy secret that might interest you. And she's like, you know what, fuck it, come in. For some reason, she has 3 of these gatekeeper eyes.
Yeah,
looking at them all. I told you we had a package stolen off our porch. I feel like this now because we got cameras for our porch and shit. And I was like, I get it. Like if I could have 3, I probably would. So they get in
and it's just fucking books and data things just stacked everywhere.
Well, trinkets. She calls them trinkets and coins or something from 1,000 different worlds. Yep. Where and Katie is like, shit. Or is it Fern who's like, shit, there are 1,000?
There's 1,000 different worlds? No, there's way more than that.
That's a lot of worlds. And we meet Kim, the owl in a cape.
Spelled like KK apostrophe YMHM or something like that. Yeah. But it's Kim.
Kim. Just a regular fucking owl.
Just a fucking owl.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I think they must have done some of this with a puppet. Some of it CG, I think.
Because it looks pretty good.
Yeah. And her whole thing is that she knows a lot of things about all the different planets
and all that shit. So she's like, all right, let me just fucking pull up my computer. We're going to type in everything. You're going to tell me everything you know about Ad-Atten.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how many planets are nearby? And I'm like, well, we don't fucking know.
They're like, well, we know about Coruscant and Alderaan.
She's like, okay, that doesn't really help.
Well, she looks at when she says Alderaan, she looks over and she's like,
missed the war,
didn't you? Honey, we don't talk about Alderaan anymore. Which is another one of those clues of these kids have no idea. They don't know what's happened in the universe. Like they're just in their little secluded thing.
Speaking of which, they mentioned, hey, there's the Great Barrier whenever you look up at night. And she's like, okay, tell me about it. And it's like, I don't know, it fucking
glows?
Swirls or
it glows and swirls.
Yeah. She's like, oh, that puts you in a nebula. Okay, that narrows you down to only one of 10,000 different planets.
Yes. Katie's really excited about that.
Yeah, we eliminated 99.9% of the possibilities.
I like this this thing where she's just she's discovering by Socratic method.
She's just fucking asking questions and crossing things off her list.
We get a little bit of exposition, by the way, about Ad-Atten being one of the jewels of the Republic or something.
Yeah, it's this hidden planet that was super important for some reason.
Where this whole group of planets that were important because of their resources or something, and I think all of them were destroyed. And on one of her displays, it says that Ad-Atten was destroyed, but it's written in Arabic, so it's easily missed. But so she gets there's nebula gases and what the fuck's that on your backpack?
Yeah,
it's because it's Fern's prefect badge.
Yeah,
and so she uses her computer to dissect the symbol, and she's like, oh, what is it? She's like, oh, look, it's Palmarish numerals. Which I was like,
with this dialect and blah, 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 blah. And that I can put that in the computer and we can cross-reference and do all this technobabble. And hey, I think I know where you're from. And Jude Law is like, oh, do you now?
Oh, really? So we're done and we can leave. And she's like,
oh,
wait.
Well, let me just double check this because I don't want to send you the wrong way.
Several different calculi. In fact, we'll probably be here all night. All the calculi. I need to recheck all this shit. By the way, I like how at the beginning of this she slips a blank data card into a thing, and by the time it pops out, it's got like shit etched on it and stuff.
It's just a fucking punch card.
It's very analog. It's kind of neat. And then so Jude Law starts to get a little suspicious.
He's like, if I didn't know better, I'd say you were stalling until the cops get here.
You're being real fucking sneaky, fucking barn owl. And she's like,
first of all, that's racist.
Yeah, that's a little racist, and that's why I called the fucking cops on you, because you're an asshole.
Jude Law's character is very problematic.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to shoot you now. And he pulls out his fucking, pirate flintlock revolver.
Yeah, tries to fucking shoot at her.
Yeah.
She's flying around, buzzing.
She does a head wig and caws and yeah. And it's like, this is where, in this whole thing, I'm like, did they fuck? Is that why they're so mad at each other?
I don't think that's anatomically possible, but I mean, far be it for me to say never.
You are positing a challenge when you say things like that. You should not say things like that on the internet because there will be one person be like, well, actually.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, I'm pretty sure they fucked.
Kim goes flying into a pile of books or something and more fall on her. And Jude Law grabs the fucking punch cards like, all right, we got what we need. Let's fucking go.
Before she got knocked into trash, she was like, kids, he's a fucking swindler. He's not a real Jedi. He's not even really good at sex. Like, don't fucking trust him.
Yeah.
And the kids don't they're like, those are the cops. They're the good guys.
Yeah.
The fucking cops. And he's like, oh, honey, that's not how the world works. So they run off. KB stays behind just for a second. And Kim is like, look, no, this guy's a piece of shit.
Like, he probably told you to trust your gut, right?
Yeah, there's exactly what he told her when they had their conversation. And she's like, fucking don't trust your gut. That's not very scientific, and you fucking know that. So find the truth. And if you ever need my help, you know where to fucking find me. And KB's like, cool.
All right, cool. Let me just store your cell phone number in my head computer. Yes. Okay, got it. I'm going to run now.
Yeah. They get to the ship. Onto the landing pad. Jude Law would very much like to leave now. Thank you very much.
Can we just fucking go?
But they're blocking his access.
Fern is like, no, you're going to tell us exactly what your deal is.
We want to know everything right now. And like, there are X-Wings like
visibly silhouetted against the moon. And Jude Law is like, we really don't have time for this. Can we please just go?
At one point, Fern's like, SM-33, and he just appears on the landing ramp with like a cutting torch.
You want me to punch someone?
Yeah, dude, would you like me to kill this man?
At one point, KB is like, turns on the loudspeaker on computer. Like, hey, X-Wings, we're over here.
It's kind of cool. She has that ability to like just hack into shit with her. Like, I thought that was a pretty neat detail. Yeah. So Jude Law finally is like, okay, look, I'm not a Jedi. And Wim's like, what? And
Jude Law is like, technically, I never said I was a Jedi.
You said I was a Jedi. I never,
I never corrected you.
Poor Wim is just instantly crushed by this.
Yeah.
He's never going to trust another man in his life, probably. But he finally, he wins them over by saying, I'm just like you. I'm lost. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Can we please, for the love of God, get out of here? Because there can be a mutual understanding here. You need to get back home. I can get you home. And I have no ulterior motives other than just fucking money. Yeah. Which if you guys have... And they're like, okay, but we don't work together. You work for us. And he's like, oh, okay, Jesus Christ, you're 12 years old.
Fucking fine.
Can we go now?
We go?
Yeah. And so they're like, okay, we're square. And they get on the ship and they take off.
He's like, we need to take off right the fuck now. SM-30 is like, well, actually, I haven't put the ship together yet. And Jude Law's like, fucking put it together. We're leaving.
Yeah, we are taking off as soon as my ass hits that chair. So So the problem is that like these X-Wings are getting close. They need a little bit of time for SM-33 to fix whatever.
And they have to like clear the horizon in order to hyperspace safely.
Well, that was not to do it safely. That was an idea that Jude Law had where he's like, oh, hold on. We're going to get to the other side of the planet so that we can see the sunrise when we fucking go. They also have the nav card he kind of snatched from the owl. And so they've got that plugged in and it's like calculating the jump and shit. And the X-Wings get close enough to be a problem. And
Jude Law is like, okay, I have an idea.
Yeah. So he's like, first of all, my first brilliant fucking idea, Neil, you're going to drive.
Neil's like, I don't know how to fucking drive.
Yeah. And
he's like, fine, just jiggle the controls back and forth a little bit and make him miss.
In the background, Wim is like, I wanted to drive. And so he's like, all right, you two fucking follow me.
It's like, I'm the fucking captain. Like, I should be driving and I should be giving the order. Yeah. And Jude Law is like, we do not have time.
Yeah, please.
Let's go.
Yeah, just stop talking. Come with me.
So he goes back to the gun turrets.
With both Fern and Wim. And
pops open a gun turret.
So they kind of just come out of the fucking ceiling, right? Or one of them does. Which I thought was really neat. And he gestures to Fern.
So he's like, get the fuck in them.
In the background, there's a shot of Wim just deflating and being so pissed that he wasn't the one picked for the thing, right? And it is so fucking funny. Like these kids. So I'm not a huge fan of Fern's actor. I think she over emotes a little bit, and I get why she's trying real hard to be tough and and seem like she's overcompensating because Fern is obviously a more sensitive soul than she lets on. But even then, I still like her quite a bit. And then Fern,
so like he gets Fern in the chair. He's like, "Here, this is the shoot button. This is the target button. Just fucking keep him off us."
Yeah. I will also add that Wim and Wim, KB, and Neil are possibly the best things I've ever seen in the world. He finds another turret. It fucking pops down, and he like you can see Wim the hope has rekindled. And then he gestures, and then he just like
fucking jumps in, straps in. He's got the controls. Like
he's shooting before the thing is like it
fucking spins around. He's just spinning, and shooting, having the time of his life.
It occurred to me right here that the kids don't realize it, but they're firing lethal weapons at police, and they think that it's a lot of fun.
They think they're having the best time of their lives.
You might also notice that the X-Wings were not firing their turbo lasers at them. They were firing ion cannons, which, by the way, isn't usually a standard fit for X-Wings. So they usually fit Y-Wings with ion cannons. But I assume if you're like the police, it would make sense to have something you could disable a vehicle with instead. Like this is... They're not wartime X-Wings. They're fucking cops, right? Yeah. And so they're chasing them, and we're not sure who. Wim really thinks it's him.
He's like, oh, I got him.
Gets a glancing blow. I mean, it barely even hits him. It's just like the most innocent little like ping, like pings off the armor and shit. And Fern, who will not be one-upped.
Like, that was one of my shots, actually.
I am surprised they didn't like get up from their chairs and just start wrestling. Just to, you know, obviously evocative of the, I got him. Great kid. Don't get penisy, you know.
So Jude Law gets back in the cockpit and fucking kicks Neil out of the chair.
Neil didn't kill them, by the way.
Yeah.
Did a fucking good job. Did a fair job, yeah.
So he's like, all right, fucking Robo Girl, tell me when we're clear. And KB's like, almost. And I'm going to pull the lever now.
Yeah. So part of the plan here was that he needed the sun to come up so that it would blind the X-Wings, and all the shit coming off their ship would also kind of blind them. And it gave them the perfect opening to jump to hyperspace. And they fucking...
It works.
Yeah. And the X-Wing pilots land, and the owl comes over and lands on the fuselage.
He was like, what the fuck? Why didn't you shoot him down?
Well, I like right, and I like how there's that detail where he's like, there are fucking kids on that ship.
What the fuck's wrong with you?
And she's like, oh, they're his kids. You fucking kill them.
Also, they were shooting at you. Like those literal children were firing lethal weapons at you.
He's like, okay, well, where are they going? And we'll catch up. And she's like, I would tell you.
You would not believe me.
Yeah, I would tell you, but I don't think you would believe me. And that's how the episode ends. And it's fucking, you know what? It like, because I know what to expect from this show. Because I know what it is. I'm not expecting some epic, like Andor or Acolyte or any like some like real serious thing.
It's just kind of goofy.
Yeah, and I'm having a ton of fun with it. They really lucked out with the kids first of all, but also Jude Law is obviously a world-class actor. Like he's so fucking good, and I'm looking forward to knowing what his whole deal is and everything.
Because like it occurs to me that he is about the right age to have been a Padawan during Order 66. Maybe.
Is he?
I mean, he's a little bit on the older side.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Or maybe a youngling even.
I think he might have been just a guy.
That is my other thought, that maybe he came up after Order 66 and never had formal training, but just figured out that he could use the Force to move shit.
And was like, you know what? I'll pirate.
Yeah, I can use it.
Yeah, I can pirate. Yeah. All right. Chris says, may the Force be with you, Daniel and Chris. I hope you're both having a good night. I'm really excited to see if Jude Law's character really is a Jedi.
He might.
The verdict is out. I think that he might just be like a rando dude who has a little bit of force powers and is like I could just be a pirate like this.
Who knows?
John says this show is what I needed. This year has not been great. And this show is a great way to end the year. Pirates and Star Wars go together very well. I need to navigate. Did you see that there was a big Facebook outage today?
I didn't actually.
It lasted for like 10 minutes.
Oh. Probably happened while I was at work, actually.
Oh, wait. Is this what I'm looking for? Yeah.
All right, what do we got?
Jimmy says, I thought the episode was very good. It was nice to see an IT-O interrogation unit, which is the thing that KB sensed with the Force.
Yeah.
Gave me New Hope vibes when Vader used one to torture Leia. And of course, it was great seeing X-Wings again, which, by the way, the thing I always hear first when there are X-Wings in live action are the sound of the engines. They make a very distinct sound that it hits some kind of Pavlovian nostalgic thing. I'm like, oh, it's an X-Wing. And I will admit, I liked Neil's bond with the rat. It was very funny. This guy... I don't understand.
I would just move on.
I don't understand what that is. Chadwick says, anyone else recognize Alfred Molina's voice before the issue tib right away, which is where I was like, no, are you fucking serious? And it apparently was. Also, Aaliyah Shawkat played the owl in a shawl.
Okay.
And then Scott says, anytime we see X-Wings is a good time, which I agree. Let's do a quick, since we can, let's do a quick 5-minute Dune Prophecy thing, because
this show is so complicated. Trying to follow all the plot lines confuses me.
I love it though.
Yeah.
I like shows that are like slow burns that do the palace intrigue and everything. I don't think it's that complicated. The thing we have to talk about this last week's episode is the ending, because there are a lot of political machinations going on.
They're like fucking Valia's trying to like ferment this plot to blow up Space Congress, except she was actually going to stop the plot at the last minute. And then fucking
she's only stopping it because it will make her look good.
Exactly. Yeah. And then fucking the soldier guy is actually
Atreides.
No, not him. The dude who is on Desmond Howe. Is that like, no, actually, see, last night I sent out the cops to arrest all those rebels.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to light them on fire with my brain.
Yes.
And actually, I'm the hero here, so you should all suck my dick.
Yeah. And she's like, that was my plan.
Also, I'm bleeding a little bit, but don't worry about that.
Yeah.
To which Valley is like, well, actually, I can, send your blood back to my sister at the sister.
The genetic, the sister.
Yeah.
That's where we keep the sisters.
Yeah. And my genetic sister can look at your genes and tell me who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
And why you can light people on fire with your brain.
A big source of motivation for both Tula and her sister is that their brother was murdered by an Atreides when they were young. And it informed and influenced everything they did afterwards. Tula viciously
murdered all but one Atreides.
Yeah. Which, by the way, was Oscar Tully from House of the Dragon.
Yep.
Season 2. The one person in the entire story who brought fucking Daemon to heal. He was in that. He must have filmed it around the same time because he's about the same age.
Yeah. Also, is the Harkonnen Baron guy from House or Game of Thrones?
Chris,
I recognize.
That's King Robert.
Oh,
from the first season.
Oh, okay.
Bessie and her tits. That's him.
No, not the old guy. The nephew.
Oh, no.
Really?
No, he's no.
I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah, he's just British. I think.
Okay.
No, but their uncle was King Robert. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fucking Robert Baratheon.
Bessie and her tits.
Yeah. So if I am to there's this whole political thing where they positioned their cousin to be on the council and and elevate himself politically quite a bit. And if I'm to understand the end of the episode is actually their brother.
What I think is happening there is that the acolyte that Valia brought with her to Space Congress, because they mentioned that she has some sort of special
talent that she doesn't want to do,
special power that is very they don't talk about what it is.
No, how did I miss that?
I don't know.
We should have talked about it before this.
Maybe.
Because
but it was worth it to blow your mind live on camera.
Okay, I need to stop watching these episodes so late at night because like toward the end, I'm getting like kind of sleepy and shit. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that again because that makes perfect sense.
I think that's what's happening.
No, I think you're right.
I've been wrong before.
Now that you've said it, I'm certain that you are. That's fucking crazy. That's a good twist too.
Also, there's a plot where all the sisters back at the sistery are having the same dream, and like they all
they do a drawing.
Yeah, these weird charcoal drawings that start out all different, but end up being like the eyes of God are judging you or something. Which I'm sure makes a lot of sense if you've read the Dune books, but I haven't. So I'm just like, hey, that's kind of creepy.
There's a sandworm probably involved in some of it.
Yeah. I guess that sandworm is like the emissary of God or something. I don't fucking know. Dune is so fucking weird.
Yeah, it is. I also I enjoy this show quite a lot just because like first it looks really good.
That's true.
It's a very unique visual style for a sci-fi thing.
The thing that stands out to it about me is that everyone dresses entirely in monochrome.
Yeah.
Like the sisters wear all black. Desmond Howe is always wearing like his tan.
Yeah.
Like everyone's outfit is extremely, it's the same color head to toe, basically.
Yeah. And they don't do a lot of colors in general.
Yeah. They don't do a lot of accessories or anything. It's just like you wear this.
Or earth tones. And yeah. So we won't talk about it too much more than that. But if you've not been watching Dune Prophecy, it's cool. It's worth the time. So that is the end of our show today. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening. I think we're playing some Battlefront tomorrow at 7. It'll be either Battlefront or at some point I'm going to restart a Star Wars Outlaws run through because they've changed the mechanics of the game quite a bit. Made them better, I hope. So I'll be doing one of those two things. And also I think I'm being talked into playing Marvel Rivals.
Okay.
But I have to download that because I think it's on Game Pass. So we'll see you next week, next Wednesday for the next Skeleton Crew, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.